Thank you, thank you. So when you're young, particularly when you are a teenager, it is very important to know absolutely everything. And if you don't know everything, you gotta pretend like you do. And then, of course, when you're wiser or older, I'm wiser, um, it becomes really a shock when a story that you have been telling since you were a teenager one day suddenly reveals just how uninformed, how inexperienced, and how arrogant you were when you first started telling the story. Okay. Vis-a-vis me in my junior year in high school in Washington, D.C., and I go for my first appointment, which actually ended up being my last appointment, with my guidance counselor, who wanted to, of course, ask me what I was going to do after graduation. So, filled with my mother's hope for the future, I just went on and on about all of these amazing elite music schools that I was going to attend. Well, there was absolutely no question that I was going to get into them. I mean, I had been sight reading music and studying classical piano since I was 4. I had been one of the first students at the year-round school at Interlochen Arts Academy. I mean, I had it all going on. So absolutely all of these schools were just going to vie with one another to get me in there as a freshman student. There was no question about it. So I just remember sitting there that day in that office, and in that moment, I just remembered like this light just bursting from me. And it was just like this confidence and this courage that my life was just right in front of me and everything was just going to work out really, really great. And I was so accustomed to all of the adults in my life, being, so, ooh, that's wonderful, that it took me a minute before I realized that the guidance counselor was sitting there with her glasses perched like this, looking at me completely unmoved, no smile on her face. So after a very long moment of eternity, she reaches into her drawer, pulls out this piece of paper, and ends up handing me a brochure for business school. Well, I was so filled with righteous indignation. I was so upset. I walked out of there in a huff, and boy, was I going to show her. Okay, skip a year to graduation ceremony, and I am the featured vocalist, and I'm accompanied by a gorgeous arrangement of the Hillside Live, the song of music, whatever that show is, you know that song. Okay, anyway, and I'm accompanied by a young man, a boy wonder from Howard University, who is soon to become a Broadway musical director and a Hollywood musical director of Dancing with the Stars. So I mean, we're all of that. Well, that was not the beginning of my great day. The greatness really began when I had to cross the stage to receive my diploma from whom else but the guidance counselor, as it was announced that I had received a full scholarship to Juilliard School of Music. Okay, all right. Satisfaction just over the top. Okay. Now that's the story that I've been telling all of this time, a long time, okay? And then yesterday on WHYY, I hear Marty Moscowain interviewing a man who's a journalist from the New York Times, and he's written a book called The Great Law, or something like some great rights bill passed. I forgot what the name of it is. Anyway, it's about the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And in this story, he begins to unveil all of the people, all of the angst, all of the years that it had taken to get this thing passed. And suddenly, as I'm listening to this story, I'm suddenly realizing that, wow, maybe that teacher, that guidance counselor, was not playing her role as a person to put me in my place. She was white. I was a little, in those days, Negro girl. And she was not necessarily being a person who was trying to say, look, darling, you can't go any further than this. But maybe it was sort of very, very difficult for her to hand me that business brochure. Maybe she knew of my accomplishments and thought that in those days that perhaps that was as far as I was going to be able to go. But in point of fact, I think that she's probably very satisfied to see how many of us have become free as a result of the passage of that act.
Veronica, everybody.